Exactly, this is my eye. I just made this very weird object, and today I'm going to show you how to build your own eyes inside epoxy resin. So keep your eyes open and let's start. So the first thing I need to buy is a bowl that has the inside completely smooth and has a very nice spherical shape in the inside. So let's go here in the store close by and let's cross the fingers and see if I can find it. I have here a bowl and it's so fragile I cannot eat inside, but I want to preserve it. It has a very interesting shape. It is like half sphere. I'm going to use it to create a mold. So I have this mold release that is made with wax. Let's cover it and start the project. Now I just have to wait almost half an hour that this wax-based product dries, so I can then start to mix the epoxy resin together. So we have component A and component B, and I can measure exactly the quantity of each of them and pour them inside a bowl. I can use a drill with a mixer attached on the front. That is just something I really made here in my shop. This is more than enough to mix it, and just take your time, mix it very slowly. We don't want to have many air bubbles inside this epoxy resin, so mix it very slowly. I can remove in any case the excess of air bubbles that are trapped inside the resin. You can see that isn't perfectly clear right now because there are so many air bubbles that are trapped inside. I can use a vacuum pump that is basically a compressor that I dismount from a fridge, and I can suck away and create vacuum. This expands the little bubbles that comes on the top, and later I will explode them with some fire. I can pour very carefully and slowly the resin inside the bowl and repeat this procedure until the bowl is completely full. Unfortunately, a hair fell inside the epoxy resin, but I can remove it. This is the last pour I have to put inside the bowl, and you can see that here there is a lot of foam that are basically very small air bubbles that form once I apply vacuum. But no problem, I can remove all these very small air bubbles with some fire. So you can see they pop immediately. I wait 10 minutes if any more air bubbles comes at the bottom, on the top, and I will explode them again. I'm a bit nervous because maybe once the epoxy cures, it will be very difficult to remove it. There's no handle, no way to grab the epoxy and remove it from the bowl. And also using fire to remove the air bubbles maybe ruin the wax that was covering the red bowl. So the only thing I can do is cross the finger and hope for the best. So now let's start to take a picture of my eyes. So I just mount this macro lens and I can open as wide as possible the eye and take this beautiful picture. I just print a picture at the local shop, and this is the result. Very nice color, very nice. I took the dimension of the picture just that represent the same shape and dimension of the plastic bowl that we used earlier. Came out great. Wow, guys, it looks really amazing. It's so transparent, and I'm so proud about the vacuum pump. It sucks away all the air bubbles, and now I just have to hope that the wax layer that I put on top of the red component really helps to let the part release easily. So let me take tissue, put it here on top of this metal base and start to bang this cup on the table.
Ha funzionato! Non ci posso credere!
I wouldn't ever believe it was so easy to remove it, but it works great and it looks like a real proper lens. I can clearly see that I'm projecting the light that is on the ceiling here on the table, which means it's perfectly clear and it really works like a magnifying glass, as you can see. So it could be also a very nice project to build making ourselves some magnifying lenses with very weird shape and very large dimensions. So what I have to do now is polish and clean very carefully and slowly the surface of this epoxy, because right now is a bit foggy. Water and soap, and now the surface is perfectly clean and is shinier and smoother. So what I have to do now, the plan is to apply this beautiful lens on top of the picture of my eye. But unfortunately, all around this epoxy there are like wrinkles. It isn't perfectly flecked. You can see that there is a bump all around and I have to remove it. So I just took a very flat surface, apply some sandpaper on top, and now it's so strange for me because I was handling this lens so carefully. I don't want to make a scratch, or I'm scratching this lens with this sandpaper. This is so important because I have to have a very flat surface. So I just sand it for like half an hour and this is the result. Okay, it came out great. It took so much time to smooth all the surface, and right now even it's so flat, it's a bit rough. You can see that it isn't perfectly transparent, it's a bit foggy, and to solve the problem I just need to apply more epoxy resin, and I can just take the opportunity to glue in place this that is my eye, and with this that will be the lens of the eye, and let's apply some epoxy resin that will stick the two parts together this way. And this eye looks like something you can buy in the shop. It looks so professionally made and it's so shiny and smooth. It's incredible to watch, and think about how dirty and bad was the surface of the bowl at the beginning. Was completely sanded, wasn't perfectly shiny, and once we pour the last drop of resin on top, everything becomes so smooth and nice. So I made a huge mistakes, but luckily for us, from the mistakes we learn new things, and the mistake I made is taking too much time with the epoxy resin. I have to work it much faster, and the resin was already curing, reacting with the catalyzer, and so the last drop I poured here in the middle wasn't perfectly fluid, was a little bit sticky already, a little bit solid, and it couldn't drop perfectly and following the shape via gravity and stays perfectly there in the middle. So even if it's very small, I can clearly see it because the surface is so shiny, and we have a little nipple here perfectly in the middle, which is something I can fix, of course. I just have to sand smooth the center and add a little bit of resin again here in the middle, and I will fix the problem. So yeah, let me know here in the comments what you think about this object, what you're gonna do with it. So it could be a very great idea as a gift. Like next week is my girlfriend's birthday, so I'm going to build one with her eye. She just have to be patient to take all the pictures. Was pretty difficult to put perfectly in focus, not the front of the eye, but the core part of the eye was so difficult. I took like 30 pictures, 30 photos until I got perfectly in focus, and also was a bit tricky to remove the reflection of the lights. because once I was making the picture, taking the pictures, there was like an LED lamp on the ceiling, other lamps around, so there was many lights shining inside the eye. So I used Photoshop to remove it, but you cannot see it. And another problem is that once they print the picture, they add more color than what really was in the file. So you can clearly see that the big result is a bit, has more saturation instead of my eyes. It looks similar, but this is more colorful, which isn't bad. It's a very nice thing to have. And I was planning to put it on the wall in my house, drill a hole here in the back and install an EP camera, security camera. So I have like a big brother watching everything is happening inside the house and have more security in the house. So let me know what you're gonna do with this. And remember that I'm here just to give you inspiration. Right now are 17 years now that we are making tutorials together. So you already know how it works. Probably you aren't going to make your own eyes, but now you learn how you can use epoxy to fix problems. If you, for example, if you have foggy headlights in your car, maybe you can solve it, or scratch headlights, you can solve it maybe with epoxy. I don't know, let's try it. And as always, I leave you here my two previous projects. Yes, right here. One here on the left and one on the right. And this one was the video of last month where we made something with epoxy. It was a huge LED, 9-inch LED, and works perfectly like a small LED. It was so interesting. We made a paraffin wax mold, and check it out. See you next week with another do-it-yourself tutorial. Check out.